the microphone, because it's got like an audio in. So now I'm on the speaker. All right.
So the first episode of the BioBros podcast, which may also be called BioBros : the enhanced man or the modern man, and we don't know yet because we're struggling over the word enhanced. Derek has approved enhanced. I have approved enhanced, but you have not approved enhanced. So we'll.
Considering I did so many videos with Tony and, seeing the audience, like the comments on his YouTube channel before.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get away from that name,
Yeah, actually, you're both associated with him also, actually, but Derek as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, Tony is, Derek was in contact with Tony also. I think he did his blood work. So after I was doing the blood work for Tony and giving him some advice, like, bro, he started sending it to Derek.
Oh, really? So there's actually everyone's been associated with Tony because Amin was also associated with Tony. Actually, Tony is the major person who propelled Amin's return to bodybuilding by calling him that's where he got the title Guru.
Okay, really?
Yeah, Tony is the one who named him Guru mistakenly.
Okay.
So there's Tony, and then also Kenny KO was associated with Tony. Everyone actually.
Yeah, I mean, he's very outgoing, right? He's all over the place and he travels everywhere. He went to Arnold and, so it's good to meet people. And, Tony's here right now enjoying himself in Thailand.
Oh, is he really? So let's tell our audience briefly. This podcast will be slightly short because, Steve is in Thailand and I'm in LA. So we'll have to do the podcast at night. But today I already have a podcast in an hour or so. So this will be a bit short. We want to introduce, so this is our new podcast. It will be a weekly podcast. Every 4 or so episodes, Derek will join us. Derek from More Plates, More Dates, who's a mutual friend of both of ours and who sponsors Vigorous Steve also.
Exactly.
So what the goal of this podcast really is we don't want to confine ourselves to bodybuilding. We do want to talk about bodybuilding. And we do want to talk about health conscious bodybuilding, which is one of the specialties of Steve. Yep. But what we really want to do is pioneer a discussion into having, into enhancing your life, your well-being in general. Yeah. So your well-being, both cognitively, physically, spiritually, in every kind of sense, and we're focusing, of course, on a male audience because I'm sure both of us have like 98% males watching our. Do you have any females? I have like
2%. Yeah, 2%. I think that's my wife and some of her friends that are watching, That's about it.
Although, to be honest, Steve, you have a lot of expertise with female bodybuilding also. So we might get into that subject.
Yeah, because, when I was coaching my wife, of course, a lot of women wanted to end up looking like my wife, but didn't want to do, what the other coaches were recommending. So they came to me. So, man, I put almost 100 women on stage.
Yeah, so you're very expert with that. Actually, Derek was telling me that you and his wife have been trialing some things, and he was complimenting your wife on her analytical ability with noticing combat.
Yeah.
So this is quite exciting.
She's very in tune with her body.
Yeah, that's what he was telling me exactly.
Yeah.
So this is quite exciting for me because we've actually, by the way, been planning this podcast for I think 2 months or 1 month and a half. Yeah. So basically, it's been my fault.
But No, it's my fault because I'm so busy and I get so many podcast requests. But I like you, Leo. So for you, I have time. But for everybody else, I'm too busy.
Actually, what's been happening, honestly, Steve. So this is the thing. I had planned like several series on my channel. So I have an arm wrestling podcast, which is supposed to begin this weekend. It was supposed to be last week and I had to cancel. I was burnt out.
Yeah.
And then I have the Boston Lloyd podcast, which will now be weekly also. And then I have my normal podcast. And then I have the Delray Misfit podcast. So it's like so many different podcasts at the same time. I've been delaying this one because we were originally wanting to start with Derek on the first episode.
Yeah.
But now we realize that there's no sense in that actually because we want to develop some chemistry and get started and get used to each other on a weekly podcast and then get Derek on.
Yeah, and I think, Derek is always a little bit busy when scheduling is sometimes an issue. So, we'll just wait until he has time and then he can join in.
Of course. Yeah, he's very busy. I think Derek's channel is now the fastest growing fitness channel, period. which
Well,
is
just
really
three
wonderful.
videos per day, three
Yeah,
videos per day. So
it's
yeah, I
really
wish I
wonderful.
had the time for it.
Yeah,
It's
Derek helps me out a lot by giving me advice on how to make videos and stuff like that. And he's a
mhm,
very selfless, kind person, you know. And so
absolutely.
we've all have similar ethics, similar outlooks on life
Hmm.
and on enhancement. So I think this podcast may end up growing and becoming a very valuable podcast. Now, today we'll start with something that's not so informative, but really like a discussion. So Vigor Steve made
Hmm.
a video on narcissism, which I didn't watch. But by the way, I used to watch Steve's video very often, but now because we're all so busy, we don't watch each other's videos that often because we
Yeah,
get tired of
it's
bodybuilding.
it's always a bit of an issue, you know. So because you get more busy and then you're trying to keep up with the rest of social media, but it's almost an impossibility. So I did watch that, like a little clip of you talking about Amin, because of course that's interesting to watch. But it's very difficult to keep track of everything. And like your podcasts are like 2 hours, right, every day.
Every day,
And then
yeah.
Nick interjects. Nick Trigilli interjects some of his thoughts in his private series, and then Derek has like 4 videos a day.
Yeah, it's very
So
different.
I have to. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't watch all of it.
So actually, I should mention one thing though. I don't know if you know this. You were on Fouad Abiad's podcast today.
Was I?
Yeah, your friend from Nomad Muscle. He was.
Oh, must have known. Yeah. Aaron.
His,
Okay, did they
his
rate his physique?
Yes, he did, and
Oh, really?
and it said one of the pictures said vigorous Steve. Yeah,
Okay, good. I'm getting
Yeah.
famous now.
yeah. So exactly, yeah. So what's this? So what was your view on narcissism? What was your
Well,
view?
it's so common in bodybuilding, you know. And there's 2 lines, right? Like you and me were sometimes a little bit anxious, sometimes suffer from people fatigue, right, where we get tired. So we really have the space where we focus our energy. And then other people, they're narcissists, so they really feed of the attention and feed off the compliments. And there's like 2 kinds of people, right? If you really want to separate it, the people that don't like the attention and people that love the attention. And some people love the attention so much that it starts to ruin their friendship and relationships and social interaction with people. So that's why I made that video series about social anxiety disorder, bigorexia, codependency syndrome, which is also huge. And it's something you'll notice when you're doing coaching, that a lot of clients come to you. It's like, hey, I want 1,000 tests and 1,000 tren and 1,000 boldenone, and it's please allow me to take this. I'm like, bro, slow down, And it's the same with narcissism. So I came up with that term main man syndrome years ago, because it's narcissism is like, it's not really identifies what it is in bodybuilding. It's a step higher, where they start to ruin their friendships, because everything revolves around them.
So this is really interesting. I never thought of it from a bodybuilding perspective. I do notice that bodybuilders are very sensitive. That's what I've noticed. But I don't know if you know, today I was threatened by Shani Grant for a lawsuit.
I saw it, yeah. I saw it.
So I noticed that they're very sensitive. Like Fouad, for example, I was able to sort of disable his brain just by commenting several times about him on video.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know about the narcissist. Actually, it does exist. I've seen it among powerlifters. Incredible egotistical behavior. Like you sit in a room with one of the guys will be the guy on a lot of tests, and he'll just be out talking everyone and sort of bullying different people slightly. Is that in bodybuilding also?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially backstage, for competitions, like where people start to psych each other out. Me and my wife used to do that for all the other competitors all the time, without even talking.
Really interesting.
Yeah, it's a competition, man. There's a lot of prize money on the line. So there's always some mind games backstage. But it's, now with social media, it's just coming to the forefront because everybody has a platform to show themselves. And, when you put yourself out there, of course, automatically you're subject to criticism, and it's how you deal with it. I mean, I have my bad days when I don't deal with criticism too well. I take me and you have the same stance. If there's a negative comment, it's a block. I don't, because we're not evolved to do that. We're not evolved to receive 100 negative comments every day. We can't do it. But the reason why I was interested, I thought it would be a good topic for a video is because to me, living in California, it may be very different in Thailand or in Europe, but in California, the word narcissist is primarily used by women to talk about men.
usually to degrade the men, and it's used haphazardly on almost any man that basically has upset a woman. So basically, you're a narcissist, you're too self-involved, or so on. So that's one thing. So I also noticed another word used frequently, inappropriately, is psychopath. So psychopath, I have a video on that, and my video is just saying there is no genetic trait that is genome-wide significantly associated with what's called a psychopath. They have a measurement scale. They have a system of, basically a psychopath is a description of a behavior of a person, right? But people use the word so randomly, and it's too overused, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's not that many psychopaths out there. There's more sociopaths out there that can't identify with another person's feelings. Yeah. And that's what I also mentioned in that main man syndrome video, that most of the narcissists are sociopaths. And that's why everything revolves around them, But psychopaths, that's pretty rare. I haven't met too many psychopaths in my life.
So even sociopath, there's no genome-wide association with any single nucleotide polymorphism. But keep in mind, there's limitations with genetic studies now, because they're just studying individual genes instead of combining them together. They try to, but there are some associated with antisocial behavior.
I think if you were to look at the brain chemistry, the relation between the different, peptides in the brain, the serotonin and the dopamine and the GABAergic system, I think there's an imbalance there.
Well, so actually, I need to backtrack. I think there are some associated with antisocial behavior. There are, but let me put it this way. So I have one of the worst oxytocin genes you can have. Like I don't produce very much oxytocin. So I've always noticed this throughout my life. My empathy is not normal. So if I feel someone is weak, I have great empathy and I have a desire to protect them. Like, for example, when Nick was bullied by Fouad, you can see how I reacted, and I never stopped. Right. Because if I feel someone weak, or if I see, some kind of injustice for someone weak. But, for example, I don't have empathy for the bully. Like Fouad, I just don't stop. I'm going to stop because Nick is not going to be on my channel as much anymore, so I don't need to do it. But Fouad is like, people are saying you're a bad guy. Well, it's because I have no empathy toward him. Unless he comes and apologizes, I don't care. He could walk and a bus could hit him. I wouldn't care until he apologizes. This is actually genetic. It's weird. So, but going back,
it could be from the background, right, where you're coming from. If you I think you mentioned somewhere in some of your videos that your parents also divorced, right?
I grew up without mother. Yeah. But it's not. It's more than that's what I wanted to talk about with narcissism. Actually, my family. So, I grew up with. You would call my father narcissistic, but he's not a good example. My grandfather is a great example. My grandfather was someone who grew up without a father. His father, they got divorced, his mother and father, in the 20s or in the 1920s, and he grew up with a very harsh mother who was very demanding. And you find this among a lot of very high-performing individuals. They grow up with a mother that they feel they have to protect. And so he went and outshone himself. So my grandfather was a gold smuggler to India. He was in the smuggling business. And I should talk about this more on a different podcast sometime. This is very exciting. It's very
exciting.
Dubai was built on gold smuggling to India. We never had oil. People think we had oil. We never had oil. All of the money that started the buildings in Dubai came from smuggling gold into India, because India had a price floor on gold, because their currency was backed by gold. So you could just take in gold. It was like smuggling drugs. Immediately you sell it, you make a ton of profit.
Yeah. Right.
So the ruler of Dubai was actually wanted by Indira Gandhi, top 10 most wanted list in India.
Because he was smuggling so much.
He was smuggling his gold in our ships, my grandfather's ships. So basically, this guy became a billionaire at a young age, and he became very wealthy. And we saw him develop, larger than life. I was not very connected to him when I was younger, but I was always heard his reputation was so famous. And we saw him develop this larger than life personality. Yeah. But behind closed doors, he was very, to himself as well as to others, extremely harsh. So I developed some of this. My father did, just probably from the way we were brought up. And he had this larger than life personality, but fueled by insecurity and fear because of his mother when he was younger. Right. He was fearful for her. So I've noticed in my life, I've known many billionaires that made it from themselves. Every single one of them that I found is what you would classify as a narcissist. Every single one.
I think it's something that develops over time, right? With the money comes a little bit of narcissism because you perceive yourself to be in a better position than other people.
I think
Because
it's my analysis was different. My analysis was
okay.
this: they grew up with such low self-esteem and
Hmm.
fear that they put this esteem. It's on other people usually, right? You grow up somehow,
Yeah.
either you're bullied or your family was in bad circumstances or whatever, and you develop this fear inside. It's like Napoleon syndrome, they say, for him being
Hmm.
short.
Yeah.
This crazy ambition, because if you go make $100 million, why don't you retire? Why would you not retire and then go enjoy your life, do something else? Why do you need to
Well,
keep?
like for us, $100 million is like amazing, you know. But
Yes,
when you have $100 million, $1 billion sounds more attractive, and then
only
10
if you
billion.
are, only if you're irrational. It's irrational
Yeah,
because
I
there's
think this, I think a lot of people they just increase their spending along the way, and I noticed it's something with myself. Like as I start to earn more money, the spendings goes up, not as more than I, not more than I earn, of course, and I'm still saving a tremendous amount, but it's you allow yourself more luxury, and I can't fathom how it is to have $100 million and then have basically in unlimited finances until you spend it all, and then you need more.
I tell you something. Usually, the people who spend it all. I know there are some people that are flashy billionaires. Okay, there are some,
Hmm. Yeah.
but usually they're in like they got lucky in one thing. Like they're an athlete or they're a tech guy. They just got money quickly.
Yeah.
Usually, the people who do it through business, I've seen like look for example,
Better.
the owners of IKEA. The owners of IKEA were recluses. They never spend money. My grandfather was, I mean, you would call him stingy for the amount of money he had. I mean, he'd just drive a BMW, never had a Rolls Royce, never had a Ferrari, never had any of those things. Same house.
Hmm.
In Dubai, all of the billionaires are like that except for one family. Every one of the other ones, they're not flashy. They don't show off. The ones who made the money themselves, maybe their grandkids show off, but them
Yeah, probably
themselves,
it's like the second or third generation that spend it, right? Because
yeah.
they were born into it, but they don't value the amount of work that's behind it.
In fact, I mean, I can think of one particular billionaire that I know of who's a good friend of mine. His father is on the Forbes list, and I mention him
Hmm.
sometimes on the channel. This guy, he owns a clothing company. And the
Okay.
clothing company, even though he owns it, when he comes out with you to dinner, he comes with a shirt that has holes in it. And in the back, there's no tag because it's like, I don't know where he got the shirt from. He drives in an old Land Cruiser from the 90s.
Hmm.
Okay, I mean, his father has one Mercedes, but it's a C class, the cheapest one,
Hmm.
and it's a 200. And he has one S class, but it's a 350. He won't even buy the 500. What I'm
Okay.
trying to say is that Stalin, look at Stalin. Stalin never had anything expensive.
No.
Very ambitious character, took over through pure just force, resilience. I mean, Stalin's story is really interesting. If you look at how he rose up with no talent, basically, except being a Machiavellian, conniving person drawn to power. Those people that are drawn to power, like Napoleon was also not showing off, right? So these people that are drawn to power, well, I mean, maybe he was showing off a little bit. He had a lot of like, he made the Roman kind of eagles in gold everywhere. But my point is that this narcissism is a protective measure for someone who's very insecure. And
Yeah.
it sometimes empowers people to do superhuman things, to become billionaires. They
Right.
come from a place of fear, and they're usually not
Yeah, that's
happy.
a drive, right, to overcome this insecurity with money, but they or power or
It
whatever
can't
or
cure it.
fame,
It
but they
can't cure
don't
it.
cure it. No,
No.
can't cure it. And you'll see that with a very deep narcissist, they want everything to be around them, right, and they want the attention. And then the one moment it's not about them,
Yes.
they lose their minds.
Yeah, and they will destroy their own families. I speak from personal
Yeah.
experience. If they find like one of their kids stands up to them, there's no mercy. They want to be always the center of attention, and that's
Yeah.
just something ingrained in them. But what I'm trying to point out is that true narcissism is sometimes very powerful. It's not gonna make you happy, but it could make you great. A lot of
You
people
make,
become
well,
great.
maybe successful. I wouldn't say that great
Successful,
because, of
yes.
course, you need more personality traits than narcissism to be great. You
Yeah.
need to be a little bit more, in my opinion, you need to be a bit more giving and, less self-centered to be great. Otherwise, you're just, center of attention that doesn't imply greatness. You might be, rich beyond belief.
Yeah.
We just see people that a lot of rich people, they give it all away and they don't spend it all on themselves. They, a little bit more philanthropic behavior and just, share it with the world.
True. But what I'm trying, yeah, great is the wrong word to use, and also successful is the wrong word to use, because
Yeah.
monetary success is not success. Maybe success in their eyes, since they have designed themselves to be successful financially.
Yeah.
But like what I'm trying to say is, this insecurity that can then be covered by pride, and then that pride having something empty inside you can drive you to be very successful in your goal, to go and push yourself as hard as you can, but it doesn't lead to happiness inside. I've never seen these people have contentment inside, and that's the irrationality that goes past 100 million. They're still at work 20 hours a day, trying to be the best, trying to compete, trying to be number one. And they spend their whole life doing this because why? They let their ego be attached to the society, to how people view them, instead of having their ego within themselves. You know, sometimes I talk to my clients about that. The important thing is that you get to a state where you are self-satisfied. You know who you are. For example, I have much less money than I did when I was 23. I'm 10 years older and I have less money, but I'm much more happy because
that's the most important thing, right? That's the most important thing, because if you're satisfied with the position you are in life, then when you're content, you're basically done. And you know, especially considering that 90% of the people are not content where they are, or content, not contempt. Wrong word. The opposite meaning. So if you're happy with where you are, then I think that's true success. But a lot of people never reach that state. Like, you've been all over the world, right? You've been in Dubai, and you went to UK, right, to study at one point, and now you're living in the States. So you've been all over the place, and I'm sure you selected the place that you live now because it matches the most to what you want out of life. Like,
no, I made a mistake. I thought California was like I thought California was like a relaxed kind of hippie. I was a little bit liberal when I was younger. I thought it would be like cool. And San Diego's like that, but LA was a mistake. I didn't realize. I only visited San Diego, so I thought all of Southern California was like that. But LA is very flashy.
Yeah. So why are you still there then?
I'm trying to move to Texas, but as you know, we have the family situation, so that stopped me sort of slightly. But what I mean to say is, like, the goal of any human life is actually happiness. But the people sometimes attach their ego thinking that they can find happiness by competing with other people, and that will never bring happiness.
No.
And really, to get happiness, you have to do other kinds of things, which is something that's a theme of my channel and will become a theme of our show, I suppose, which is like, you have to have certain values. You have to serve other than yourself. You have to be grateful. You have to do something you love, the process of and the destination of. You can't you can't just like the destination. Oh, I want to be a movie star, but you hate acting. You can't be I love to be a billionaire, but I hate the business I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
So
no, I think there's a lot of pleasure in giving. Yeah. You know, and giving back to the fitness industry. I mean, I've been coaching now for 10 years, and it's very gratifying, you know, if you have the right clients and you see them progress. Like, I treat them all like my little brother and sister, even though some of them are 10 years, 20 years older. And, you know, you see their progress through life, and it's very gratifying, especially considering I don't have kids. So you see people like progress, you know, whether that's emotionally or financially or romantically, and of course the progression in the physique. But it's very gratifying to see that.
Yes, exactly.
You know? And then luckily I get to make money doing that as well. So I help others, see them reach their goals and progress much further than the initial goals that they have. And I get to pay my bills that way.
This is actually very true. Coaching is one of the, unless you're doing coaching like the cookie cutter coaching with like 500 clients and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're doing what Steve does or what I do, which is with a limited amount of people, and you're dealing with their whole life. So sometimes I'm like helping people build Tinder profiles. I'm helping people. You know, really, yeah. I have, for example, my newest client. He doesn't even have an interest in physical health that much. His main interest is in, you know, finding happiness in his life. And this kind of stuff is beautiful because when you have the right client, when you have a client who doesn't really want to work properly and doesn't, you know, that kind of stuff, then it's not the same. But when you have somebody that really wants to work, you see their happiness, you see your effect on them. This is the most gratifying. This is more gratifying than making $1 million.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because you're positively contributing to somebody's life, and it gives you, even though, you know, it doesn't really do anything for your life besides a little bit of, you know, coaching fee. it's extremely gratifying to see, and I'm sure that will translate when we have kids at one point. Then when you put the same effort into a child and they grow up, and then hopefully they don't get to hate you by the time they're 18.
Hopefully
that's the trick, right? I mean, it's I had my struggles when I was a teenager, so that's like I think for you and me, we get to do a do-over, right? When we have kids. So considering our past, a lot of things we probably didn't agree with, and those things we don't want to translate into raising our own kids. So coaching is like babysitting adults sometime, but it's a good practice run for when you finally have kids. You get to do all the things right and reach their goals, and then I feel pretty confident by the time we do make the next step. But my wife is not ready, so I'm waiting.
That's very interesting. Two things. So the children thing, it's so interesting you mentioned that. I just had a podcast with Jerry Ward today in which I was talking about that. Mm-hmm. And then I had a podcast with Ben Pakulski also that was related a little bit to that, because I was asking Ben, because he's a yogi and he breathes a lot. So I was asking when he has, no, I'm
got to do like little interjections, right?
Yeah. No, but really, I asked him, I was serious when I asked him, because he said he was complaining a lot about his father, who he is not getting along with, which by the way, lives with him in Florida, apparently. But anyway, the point, it sounded like they were, anyway. So
maybe they just had an argument then.
Yeah. But the point is, he was complaining about his father as youth. And I'm very concerned that subconsciously, I may repeat some of the behaviors that I didn't like from my father by accident. Yeah. So this is like keeping me up at night.
I have the same thing.
So we're thinking about that. And, it's important. I think that as long as we have the intention and we keep reminding ourselves of it, even if we catch the behavior, at least we can apologize right after and say, I didn't mean to do this, or you know what I mean, as long as you're conscious about it and you don't have pride. But it's quite a concern. The other thing is, you're totally right. It's sort of like a practice run with some of the younger clients, especially. Yeah. Because, for example, I have a client, the way I think of it is not like children, it's like a little brother, just like you said.
Yeah.
I actually have a little brother, and he's a white American, 100% white. He's a half brother. So I never knew him well. I mean, I met him when I was like 5 years old. And then I met him when I was 10 years old. Maybe I saw him for like a total of like 70 days or something in my life.
Yeah.
And I never saw him again.
Okay.
And I've always tried to reach out to him and give him guidance and stuff, but he hasn't been that receptive. And, if he's an adult now, he's 25 or 26 or something like that. So I never got the chance to really have a proper little brother. And it's funny, the other day I was talking to literally my first client, who was 20 years old. And he was showing me a picture of his books. See, I taught him how to read, which is to underline, to annotate on the side your impressions. This is the best way to remember things, right? And
right. And you can, go back and just read the cliffs, basically.
That too. But also I told him, like, even if you find something funny in the book, or you can relate it to your life, write on the side like, haha, or similar to whatever, because it gets you more engaged, So he sent me a picture of his book, which was tattooed basically with all these writings. I was so proud, he's a consultation client. I never had him as a coaching client, but he bought maybe 20 consultations, and he doesn't need to anymore because he's on track, but he sends me updates on WhatsApp, and he sent me the picture, and I said, you're the little brother I never had. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
I really am. I was beaming with pride.
Right. No, I got several guys like this. They're, they signed up like 18 and now they're 24.
Wow.
6 years. Yeah, that's a long time. You see them progress, and you give them some business advice in the meantime and relationship advice, and, all the dials are slowly going up. So they're leveling up in all aspects of life. It's very rewarding, Yeah, I consider them all my little brother. I have a little brother, 2 little sisters, but, living in Thailand, I'm not that close. So I call as much as I can. But, living abroad, it's, you're not as close to your family as you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is actually brings us back to the theme of our podcast, which will be, how to live your best life. I mean, the reason why we're talking about coaching in terms of giving advice in some ways, like, for example, I even mentioned Tinder, like there's a way to optimize your Tinder use. And I think Tinder, you don't know, but I've only been with Lucy for almost 4 years. So before then I was on Tinder, very active and very successful. Okay. And I shouldn't be on. I'm
5-star rating.
Yeah, but I'm not a good looking guy, but I was very successful because I learned how to use it, right? And why I like Tinder, for example, is because it changed life. Now dating in person is a really big waste of time. Because every time you go up to a girl and talk to her, it takes you so long to realize if there's potential. Whereas on Tinder, you have, for example, when I closed my Tinder, I had 5,000 matches that I had not opened yet, which means you have a premium Tinder. You can see who swiped you and you didn't swipe them. So you go quickly through them. You send a couple of messages. You can quickly learn if the girl's intelligent, what values she has, quickly, and you can narrow it down and then really optimize. But we're not just talking about that. We're talking a lot of what Steve and I talk about is pharmacology. Steve being one of the foremost experts on PEDs, really. We can say that now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now that I've talked to a bunch of gurus closely and I received questions.
I get this all the time. I signed up with Coach so-and-so and he doesn't know, he knows fuck all compared to you, Steve.
Yes.
Or maybe just people are blowing smoke up my ass. You're turning me into a narcissist.
It's true. No, it's true. I think you and I and Derek know the most about PEDs probably in general. So. So and Steve is also interested in the mind and spirit and so on. So we've used, I think both me and Steve have always, you can tell me, Steve, your experience, but my experience was this. When I was young, it all started with steroids, actually. When I was young and I was 15, 16 years old, I was trying to get stronger, mainly because, and I mentioned this on the Dolce interview, mainly because I was getting into a lot of fights and I had a lot of Kung Fu and karate background, but this kata stuff with the arms like that, this was not working in fights. So
No, especially not in street fights.
So I was like, I need to get stronger because basically in 9th grade, the whole 12th grade was fighting with me. So they were much bigger than me. So I was like, I need to get stronger. So I started.
Were you an early student as well? Like a year young? Yeah,
a little bit young.
I was born in September, so I was like a year younger or 9 months younger than everybody else. So, and I was short and skinny fat, and then getting bullied by all these guys that had to redo the class that were already a year older. So they were 2 years older. So it was like the little twink, little kid in the class, and then everybody starts teasing you. It's like, okay, I got to get to the gym and build this muscle armor.
What Steve is talking about is a real thing. If you look at the NFL, almost everybody, I'm talking over 80%, are born in the first 4 months of the year. There are not many people born in October, September, December. Why? Because they're the smallest people in class. They get picked last for the football teams. And over time, this causes them to not get into the NFL and not get into those kind of things. And so when you're younger in the class, you have actually a little bit of insecurity naturally because people have literally a year, especially at younger ages, they have a year above you of thinking.
But it's such a big gap.
Huge gap.
At that age, it's a huge gap. But then you have to do your presentation and stand in front of the class. You're almost peeing your pants.
Yes.
You're shaking, you see you see your fucking little note page. And now it's not an issue at all. But it took years, to get over. Yeah, it took years.
Actually, this is a good point. A lot of people think they should put their children in early in school. And sometimes maybe that's not the right idea. Yeah, maybe you want them.
A little bit later.
Exactly.
A little bit later because I went through that whole process and it I think that's where some of the social anxiety and then, the insecurity came from. I'm basically completely over it now because I'm completely self-reliant and I live in a country that I absolutely enjoy. But, in my earlier years, I think I was like late on a lot of things in life because it took me a while to kind of build my own character, because to get over certain roadblocks.
You and I and Derek are all introverts. Every time I have a podcast at night, I can't sleep because talking to people gets no matter what I'm doing, it gets me too excitable.
Yeah, no, I know.
But other than that, so how it happened for me was I started weightlifting. I got to like a 405 squat, 500 deadlift and stuff. And then I was realizing I'm not getting strong enough fast enough. So I said, there's this thing called steroids. Oh my God, I could change my biology. I said, I could become something else. I didn't use them yet. So I thought, like many people think, I'll become, the biggest guy in the world. Like I'll be Rami or something like that. And so I thought like that. So I started studying them and using our introverted nerdiness, probably Derek did the same thing with originally with the pickup art and stuff like that. So we studied ways to improve our lives. And for me, it began with steroids, and then it went all over the place. Like I was doing all kinds of things. I used minoxidil on my beard in 2005 before anyone knew about it.
To get a little bit more masculine.
Yeah, exactly. So I was on Thunder's place, the penis enlargement form. Just to be clear, I don't have a small penis, but I was on that place because I wanted to be the best that I can be, right?
Yeah, you want to take it another 2 inches, So
exactly.
much, I just want to know how much size did you gain over that protocol? Permanent size?
No, permanent, I don't know, because I kept 1 inch of length. Okay. No girth, maybe a little bit of girth from fibrosis. But at the time I gained like 2 inches in length and then like 1 in girth, something like that. But it goes away. As I said, that's why I made the video. The girth goes away and the length goes away, except for that suspensory ligament that's attaching your penis at the top. That thing never completely goes back to normal if you hung enough with like the bib hanger. But the point is, I went in those boards very early before, like Good Looking Loser, who's friends with Derek. I was in 2000. So we did all these kind of things to go and learn how can we live a better life. Right. The point of this podcast is to slowly over time teach other males that may be younger than us our lessons that we learned along the way. Right.
Like for example, making the same mistakes and getting ahead a little bit earlier. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We want to help them avoid making the mistakes. Like for example, we were lied to by these people on the steroid forums. We were lied to by the people on the Thunder's Place forum. One guy said, I gained 5 inches of length. Well, you're selling the hanger. Why didn't you ever show any evidence of it? I mean, nobody did. That's not true. So some people are still posting on my PE video saying like. But I think someone did gain 4 inches. No, they didn't. Let me tell you. So we're going to expose those things and make and any mistakes we made, they can avoid, even in terms of lifting and stuff like that. And then on the other hand, we want to also give you guys tips on how to improve your life. So sort of like a coaching light version for everyone,
Exactly. Yeah. They can take from what they will and apply it to their own life because, you're over 30, right? You're not exactly sure how old you are, but
I know how old I am. Unfortunately, too many people ask me, but I'm turning 33.
33, yeah. So I'm 37. So there's a little bit of experience there. That's a combined experience of 70 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when Derek gets on board, we have another. Derek is 22 now, right?
No, Derek.
I'm trolling. I think he's like 20. I think he's 27 now.
He's 27, I think. Yeah.
27. Yeah.
22. That's funny. Well, he does look young, but so Derek. I mean, look at Derek. What he did with the hair, with all kinds of things. Derek perfume. I mean, so we have all kinds.
He's very entrepreneurs, and you know where it comes from. And we have a mutual friend called Victor Pride from the Bold and Determined blog, who's now converted into a Christian, where there might be a hidden reason for it. No, he's not a good guy.
I don't know who he is.
So that's one of those internet personas that's, basically fake it until you make it. And he later confirmed through one of his episodes that he said, it was all a facade. But I actually met the guy here in Thailand because he was living here in Thailand. He was living in China for a while and then in Thailand. And apparently Derek used to write for the guy.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people actually follow this advice to get, into the entrepreneurship, doing internet business, getting your own website and, making sure that everything's worth their time. But don't exchange your time for money because you read a lot of these, the Victor Pride, Nick Kelly, read a lot of these self-help books. But he was, he's a classic example of a narcissist. I believe he changed his ways, though, now that he's a Christian. But I haven't seen any updates. But I met the guy in real life, and it's he would be a good topic for this video.
We should discuss him when Derek's on. I mean, you mentioned two things that I'd like to comment on really quickly. Fake it until you make it. Now, I don't like this phrase. I used to think that this is kind of, I know what you mean by it in a negative sense, but there's also a positive way.
No, I had to do it in the beginning also when I started coaching,
Not just coaching. I've noticed something among artists, for example, visual artists. They are not completely original. Every artist takes a little bit from other artists and combines it together. Of course. So a lot of life is mimicry. You see someone like I tell my coaching clients, one of the best ways to become what you want to be is watch who you want to be interviewed and just start to absorb, watch as many hours as you can and absorb everything, even absorb the things that you think are irrelevant, the way he moves his hand, the way he smiles, everything, absorb it, mimic it. And then over time, once you become that thing, then you can get rid of the unnecessary parts. And this is one of the ways to transform yourself through mimicry. It's really powerful. I mean, really a lot. We could talk about Coach Steve and I talk about this all the time. There's a lot of coaches that just go and regurgitate things. Steve, for example, added things to bodybuilding that nobody did before. Like the carrier oils, for example, was initially brought up by you. I added, for example, the beta blockers or enclomiphene citrate or something like that. Derek added some things also completely new. Like, for example, nobody was talking about, Derek and I were talking about, nobody was talking about how testosterone, and other than DHT, can affect your hair. I mean, that was completely, Derek brought that into the discussion, and now it's commonly in the discussion. So there aren't very many people that are truly creative. And by the way, these things we got mostly from, I mean, yours, for example, is truly creative. I introduced some things from papers. The only truly creative thing I did was that sex drive protocol, which I somehow figured out.
I just linked it yesterday, because I did I did a clickbait video, and I thought I thought people were gonna get upset, but I actually got a lot of views. So I think I'm gonna do a little more clickbait titles.
We have to.
And then I linked your progesterone protocol, which I have no experience with, because I was always recommending pregnenolone converting into progesterone, maintaining the sex drive. But the progesterone one, unfortunately, I don't have micronized progesterone here. I would love to try it.
You could India Mart or Alibaba.
Yeah.
India Mart, I've noticed, is now the best sort. India Mart has it's the cheapest. It's cheaper than all the chemists, cheaper than Clear Sky Pharmacy. Really a great place. And they have, well, we'll talk about. And the other thing you mentioned, this guy converting to Christianity. I mean, that's one of the things we should talk about. I know you're probably an atheist, but I was an atheist for many, many years. And I developed my own almost my own religion in my head, or spirituality, which is not
like a moral code, right? As you get older, so do things you don't do and things you do, and then when people do things you don't do and don't agree with, you get feisty.
Yes, that's true. That's true in my case. But what I mean to say is this: the thing that I believe in is not a belief. It's a reflection of reality, which is the laws of physics. The laws of the universe, all of this, I call God. So it's just a name. I call that God.
Yeah, right.
So in that way, I can be grateful to these laws of the universe for my existence. And in that way, I'm grateful to God. And this is what's called Spinoza's God. It's well known among many scientists follow this kind of reasoning, because in science, you see such beauty sometimes.
Absolutely.
And you just have to respect it and be grateful. And that's the word I use, God, not some guy with a beard.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the fact that we're even here, I mean, you and I probably have a lot of an understanding of science besides the biology and the pharmacology and all this stuff, but, on a molecular level. And when you really think about it, we should be entirely grateful that we're even here.
Yes. And that's one of the best ways to develop happiness also.
Yeah.
And resilience.
We all get a chance to make the best out of it. Yes. And we have a limited time frame, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, we want to change that, but it's very difficult.
Yeah. Well, we could, maybe not in our lifetimes, but it's, I think in a couple lifetimes, it will be a non-issue,
I really think so. I really think so. I am
planning. Are you going to freeze your brain or what?
Yes, absolutely. I was going to say I'm planning to freeze not just my brain, my whole body. I'm going to freeze everything.
This is why you're making so much money, right? So you can put 20 million, so you can put your whole body into the nitric nitric tank.
It's so funny you say this. It's so funny you say this. My concern was that if I freeze myself like Walt Disney, maybe nobody wants to revive me. So I'm not Walt Disney, right? Maybe they don't care. So what I wanted to do is accumulate enough money.
You paid for it, damn it. So they should.
Yeah, I want to make enough money that I have a prize, and it'll go into a fund. So whoever revives me gets the money.
But when you look at it, another way to look at it is you make all this money, right? And you can give it back to your children, or you can be such a self-important feeling that I need to freeze myself. I'm the best in the world. I need to be revived. I need to be put into a robot body, by a biological robot body.
Back to narcissism, the first.
Right, exactly.
Actually, I wanted to do the prize for my children or grandchildren. Whoever revives me gets the money among them.
right. Yeah, that's a good one to put in your what is it called?
The will,
testament, there's a little culprit here. If you revive me.
Exactly.
It might take 4 generations, Can
I ask you something? In the Netherlands, are you able to choose your will? Because my wife was telling me in France, you can't. They equally distributed among the children.
I think, if you go to a lawyer and you have your testament You know, I have some sort of testament here with a lawyer.
Oh, you already made one?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, because we used to fly all the time, and I know airplanes are a little bit tricky, you know.
Yeah.
And there's some funds here distributed over assets, to put it vaguely, and part of that needs to go to the family in case I pass away. So
Very
and
responsible.
so we have to we made a testament to make sure that that's distributed equally. So it just gives me peace of mind, because I think it's a waste if that falls into the wrong hands or a fucking bank here,
Yeah, that's very responsible. And that
Yeah.
shows ethics, which is another thing we're going to talk about a lot on this
Mhm.
series, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I
So in
think,
Holland you can't do it, but I didn't register that in Holland because otherwise they understand my financial situation.
yeah,
That's
you have to
none
be
of their
careful about that.
freaking business.
The taxation is very bad there.
Fuck retarded, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
So
I paid 48% taxes at the end, and then yeah, that's the highest bracket, and then they say 48, but by the time you get your salary, it's 52% deducted. What's the point?
oh my God. Wow. And the problem with that is that you don't get as many benefits as the people who don't work by choice.
No, because when I lost my job due to the economic crisis in 2009, yeah, 2009, the 7, 8, and then 9, it kind of went bankrupt. Right, there was no projects for a whole year, so we all sat at home doing fuck all,
Mhm.
and then the company said, "Oh, we have no money." Long story. So you file for government support, and I bring my entire tax statement, like this is the amount of taxes I paid, and then I paid this amount of taxes working for clients, working for customers, which is taxed from the customer to the consultation firm, and from the consultation firm to my salary, right? So I added that taxes on top. I got like a sprinkle of salary compared to
Wow.
what I was making before. So it's like, why am I contributing to the society? And then one guy was sitting there, never worked a day in his life, and just explaining to me how I would get the most amount of the. I'm like, I paid for this guy and his entire family. What am I doing here?
Yeah, actually in LA.
I decided in that moment to leave, and then it took me, a couple of years to bounce.
I didn't know that part of your decision to leave was that you were being taxed so much, which is now going to be a big issue. And
I didn't mind the taxes as long as you give something in return.
Yeah.
If you take a lot of my money because I'm working my ass off 80 hours a week, and you're not showing anything in return besides maintaining the roads, and then every time you go vote, right, the politician changes their attitude.
And the thing about it is many people don't realize governments are the most inefficient, your taxes are not being used very well. Like it's not a private corporation, so it's very inefficient.
Absolutely.
So you're taxed a lot, and then and you don't really know what's going to happen to your taxes.
No, right.
Yeah.
So in that moment, I decided, I'm sorry, I can't contribute to this economy anymore. And it took me a while to get over that, to get out of it. But now I'm contributing to an economy that I like. Thailand is not perfect, but it's a million times better than Holland. That's for sure, or at least for the things I want out of life. So I had to move countries to get more out of life because Holland was not providing.
We should discuss that
Providing,
also in a future episode, like choosing the right country to live in, because I think both of us. I mean, I left the UAE for a good reason. I just arrived in the wrong state. I should have been in Texas probably, or.
Got it for taxes. It's much more favorable. I mean, I think LA is the highest taxes.
It's horrible. It's a very badly taxed, and there are many other reasons. I mean, LA has like a lot of LA. I was living in for 5 years. Now I live in Orange County, which is much better.
Okay, yeah.
Near Sean Ray. I think Sean Ray is my neighbor because we live in the same city exactly, Irvine.
No,
but
you should get him on the show.
I think I could, but. Should we get him on this show? We should. We should start getting guests.
I don't like Sean.
I was about to say I don't like Sean either. That's why I never got him on. I don't like him at all. I don't know why. No. He's just unlikable. He's professional.
He's a butthurt guy. It's like.
He's a professional commentator, but he's unlikable. I mean, you just.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Just
okay.
Like Ben.
Yeah, Ben was. Did you see the comment section on that video?
I know. I was watching it halfway. That's why I mentioned I was so busy doing, because everybody has a podcast. Just a little remark there.
That's what he was saying.
Surprising, but then Nick said that he was actually very likable. So maybe he had a bad day, But it's.
No, he didn't have a bad day. After, it was way worse after the camera turned off, because then you realize his real motivations are all financial, and he's just money driven. And
I'm just here for your subscribers, man.
Yeah. No, Vigorous, for example, is a friend. I mean, Derek messages me every day. You message me every day. This is not a fake YouTube friendship.
We have contact every day on WhatsApp, man.
Yeah. So it's very different. But Ben actually, like, I think he would have treated me much differently if he knew about my background in private equity or who I know and things like that. But he just saw this guy with books behind him, and he got insecure cerebrally, and unfortunate that some people, they just want to use you. And by the way, that kind of lifestyle, as you can see in Ben, will never give happiness. You know, you just can't get happiness if you're just running out.
No. But you can see that his podcast is not doing so well.
I didn't know that. His podcast, what I noticed is that he basically brings people on that are like meditative or whatever, and then he regurgitates their information.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like, you know, like a self-help audio book. That's why I messaged you.
You told me, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like listening to one of these audio books, you know, but it's, ideally you talk from experience, not from something you read in a book, until you apply it to your life.
Exactly.
You know, I can talk a lot about trading, but I don't trade so much. But I read a lot of books about trading.
Yeah, me too, for example. Yeah, I read a lot about investments, but I mean, I did work in private equity, but that's different than stock investments. So some people are asking me, can you make videos on equity investments? I mean, my strategy.
Too risky, man. People will start to blame you if they make a bad investment. So I never really talk about it.
Well, for example, for me, I look at the whole, I just buy indexes, you know, so I don't really trust any individual but the point is, I won't talk about, because I don't find like that much personal experience or success from it. But we can talk a lot from our personal experiences. You know, I've had very difficult ones in my life that I've overcame, and you have had also. And so we'll get through this. Hopefully we impart a lot of knowledge on our listeners from personal experience, from pharmacology, from all kinds of ways to improve your life. I think we have to end it here because 50 minutes in, but we'll post this one on my channel for the viewers to know. Every other video will be on Steve's channel or my channel. So they keep
I think it's good. Maybe we can do the full one on either channel. Then maybe a short clip, like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, to promote it on the other channel. And then people can vice versa, so they know that they, you know, there's another BioBros, the enhanced man.
Oh, you agreed?
Podcast.
Okay, fine.
You know,
great.
Or no, not enhanced. I still got to get over it. You know, BioBros at least.
It is about enhancing, though. It's about it. You can't let that somebody take that word, because it's about enhancement. You know, I mean, it's about enhancing your life, getting more out of your life than you could otherwise. I mean,
I will go to thesaurus and find some synonyms. You know, improvement, betterment, perpetual. You know.
All right, maybe the name is undecided for now. Let's let that.
But BioBros is very catchy, so I think we'll stick with that one. You find out which one was the one that recommended it, because I think we have some thank yous to do.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I got so many messages, so I have to find it. But there was one gentleman who came up with like 10 amazing names. I think it was him.
Oh, really?
He's very intelligent.
We'll give some shout outs. So we'll you know, because there were a couple good recommendations for sure.
That's cool.
It was good to talk to you, man. Absolutely.
We'll talk next week. I'll end it here.
Yeah.